All right, you guys, this is Eric here with Investor Central Club and Stacks. We've got some earnings coming up at the end of today's market close. So with that being said, let's check those out. All right, first off, what we got today, we've got BBAI, OKLO, AMC, I think already reported. We got AST, Space Mobile. We got ACHR Aviation, and then some smaller names, Plug Power, GoPro. We'll take a look as to what happens with those as well. With market closing, let's drop some of these names in here. We got OKLO. We got let me do that real quick. OKLO, ASTS. We got ACHR. We got I have to hit enter. Hold on. There we go. We can kind of see what's come in just today. We got some puts being bought for Big Bear. I think we're pretty bearish on Big Bear so far. ACHR, ACHR Aviation, we do see some calls being bought. ASTS, some calls as well. But keep in mind, look at some of these premiums. They're pretty small overall. So not the most conviction in terms of that. But let me know. If you're here, you're watching, is there anything that you're looking at, anything that you're considering getting into? I know some of the bigger names are coming up later this week. We got CRCL, which is reporting. We got CRWV, CSCO, and Applied Materials all reporting later in the week. So keep an eye out for those. If you did get a chance to, there was a live stream we did yesterday on Sunday. So if you guys do want to get our earnings reviews for those, our earnings analysis, we went over, saw what Stacks had to say, went over what the charts said as well. So make sure that you go catch that before they report this week, and that way you can get an idea of some positions that they're in. As always, we will be keeping an eye out for what's going on in here, as you know, especially as market closes. If anything comes in the last little bit beforehand, so for example, this selling these puts here, they actually don't think it's going to go below 950 because you know they'll lose that premium right there. So keep that in mind. I'm going to pull up my charts for us. Give me 1 second. All right, we got OKLO, we have BBAI. All right, let me pull that up. Okay, on the left we got OKLO. Got 5 minutes till close. We got Big Bear AI on the right. See how they react during earnings today. If you're here watching, go ahead, comment Stacks in the chat box below. That way I know that you're here. Hit that like button. And if you haven't already, I'm guessing you guys that are here are the ones that have already subscribed and hit that notification button so that you find out every time I go live what's going on. So thank you for that. While we're waiting I do want to point out this was something. So we do have a breaking news channel on our Stacks, and this is something that just came in earlier today, about half an hour ago. Trump extends trade truce with China for another 90 days. So, you know, these tariffs, we keep seeing that him pushing it back further and further, kicking the can down the road. You know, I think when we first came out with these tariffs, nobody expected him to push it back this far, but it looks like this is just the ongoing play at this point. So we'll start to see fewer and fewer reactions when it comes down to tariffs, because we basically expect that down the line, either nothing's really going to happen, or if there are deals that are made, they can make those deals whenever they do feel like it, and can get what they want from them at the end of the day. So be interesting to see. Let's get back to trading view and see. We're just chopping around. We got 4 minutes till close here. So let me know what you guys think. What's going to happen with these positions? Are you in anything? Are you in Big Bear, ACHR, OKLO, AST? So let's keep an eye on those. Just because we do have Circle reporting tomorrow, I added that in here. You can see Circle. We got some calls being purchased, some puts being taken. Almost a mil right there, actually. That's something to consider. Circle, actually quite a bit in terms of that. Let me copy this real quick. Circle today leaning a little bit more bullish. We do have these puts for 150, 100, 100K, 150K, 170K. These are just for the end of the week too, so kind of short term. Bigger puts that we saw earlier in the month, 168, now trading at 163. It's kind of chopped around between those ranges so far. But a lot of these are expecting some decent moves, if anything. 24, 25%. Puts are only expecting an 8% move to the downside. This reports tomorrow before open, so keep that in mind. Nothing right before the bell. We're about to close. Let's peek over at TradingView, see what ends up happening. There's close. OKLO dropped a little bit. We'll see what ends up happening. Doesn't look too bad so far. Yeah, recovered already, got bought up. Kind of interesting. So if you've noticed, I've drawn these blue lines to show you where support and resistance are. You see how it came right down exactly to that line, exactly 71. So something to consider. That's why I draw these lines out for you guys to see. Starting to see Big Bear push up a little bit. Did they release earnings already? Maybe. It's a decent push so far. Big Bear might be headed up, or it could be that fake out. Up 3%, 4%. Now we talked about Big Bear. They've got a huge backlog when it comes down to their, you know, projects and government contracts. So they've got a big backlog. Maybe there's some new information about that with this earnings report. They're up 5% so far. What's up, Derek? Good to have you here. That could be the push. Big Bear headed higher so far. No news out just yet. I'm gonna pull up my Twitter, see what I can find. Actually, nothing for Big Bear just yet. Yep. Yeah, up 8%, 7%, 8% already. And no. Yeah, it's not supposed to come out for another 15 minutes. I don't know if this push is going to be real. Plug Power reported. Plug Power missed EPS but beat revenue. Missed EPS by 33%. Revenue beat by 10%. So let's pull that up real quick. Yeah, that's expected if they missed their EPS. Down about 4% so far. OKLO still flat. Yeah, GoPro reports. GoPro. Let me know. I've had a GoPro. I used it pretty religiously for a lot of different things. It's up 5%, but it's $1.38 for the stock. GoPro reports in about 2 minutes, so we'll see what happens there. Reminder here, Big Bear hasn't actually reported, so all that movement right here is just, it's pre-earnings. You still have a GoPro. You've got a lot of things brand new in the box, Derek. Yeah, I had a GoPro 6 that I got in like 2018. I use it a lot. I use it to record basketball games for my players that I coach. And it was funny, we won a championship 2 years ago in our winter league. Was it winter league? Yeah, it was our winter league. No, fall league. Won it in our fall league, and that was the one time that my GoPro decided to glitch. So it only recorded the audio. The entire screen just went black. Wouldn't record anything there. So I lost the footage from that championship game. Luckily, a lot of parents still record stuff, so I still have clips from it. But it was one of those situations where, I had been using that for 5-6 years almost, 5 years at that point. And it just finally decided to crap out at like one of the least opportune times ever. So switched over from GoPro. I now have I'm gonna use my iPhone mostly for recording, but I do have the the DJI Osmo Pocket. I haven't used it that much, but it is a pretty cool little tool. I think it's the 3 that I use now. Just again, GoPro, I think they had a big part of the market share for a while, but a lot of knockoffs came into play, and they had a lot of overheating issues with a lot of their models after you got past a certain level, and I think a lot of the other companies started to catch up in that space. So you've definitely seen GoPro. I mean, the stock is where it's at because they used to have a hold on the industry due to how small of a form factor they're able to output, and they're the go-to when it comes to extreme sports. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case anymore. I also have Insta360 that I've used. I don't use it that much anymore, but it is, for travel purposes, kind of a cool little tool to use. GoPro revenue, 10-cent loss per share. That's worse than the estimate, so they missed on EPS. Let's peek over at OKLO. OKLO still hasn't done anything so far. ACHR is down after hours. Nothing in terms of their actual report so far. ASTS. ASTS kind of back and forth, no details on it just yet. Big Bear is still nothing. We got about 7 minutes till they should probably report. Yeah, the DJI Osmo Pocket's cool to use, but yeah, any bad weather, definitely the GoPro is kind of the rugged use type of a device for that type, or I mean, either way, you could always take your iPhone, throw it into one of those waterproof pouches and use that too. As long as your iPhone's not a refurbished one, it's technically waterproof. All right. Today's flow was kind of stagnant, I would say. I will point out we did see quite a few SPY puts being taken. There's quite a bit of hedging going on. That's expected, especially with tomorrow being the CPI report. I do think that we might see prints come in line or a little bit hotter than expected. And if it comes in hotter than expected, we could see a bit of a push down when it comes down to SPY. I have the Pocket 3. And then I bought it with the purpose of recording for basketball games and things like that, but realistically it's always just been easier to set up my iPhone at this point. The battery on my iPhone is completely, crap at this point just because I use it to record just about everything. I still have a Sony a6000, which doesn't even record in 4K. It just records in 1080p. But I use that just for photos. Been tempted to go buy the A7. I see a lot of used ones out there people are letting go for pretty cheap. Man, not much movement right now when it comes to after hours. I think we're still waiting for those reports. ACHR starting to make a comeback. Back up about 1% after the drop. I used to use a gimbal. I had, what was that? The Xeon. It was an old model. It was big. And it was useful for a couple of previous iPhone models, but now I just use the handheld. I don't if maybe use a selfie stick or something like that, or some sort of. I usually use a tripod, so I don't need it to be stabilized. But I feel gimbals have kind of become obsolete unless you're really doing professional recording at this point. Like I used a gimbal to help record my friend's wedding and things like that. See, there's 8 of you guys watching. Anybody else in on any of these positions? Are you waiting for the rest of the week? Tell me, what are you looking at? Comment stacks if you're here, so I know that you're here watching and listening. Always interesting to see who our viewers are. Man, OKLO, still nothing so far. Yeah, I think that one should be reporting in about 3 minutes. Gimbals are necessary or unnecessary? Oh, Big Bear reports at 1:15. OKLO and ASTS report at 1:30. So we got a little bit of time before those. Big Bear is going to be the one to watch. In the next 3 minutes, we'll see a report. I'm just watching them bouncing around at this point. GoPro came right back down to where it closed at. And what's cool about GoPro, in my opinion, is just because it's a San Diego company. The dude used to go surfing and came up with this to help him record his surfing videos. But company's just tanked over the years. It's got that whole market cycle look to it. Now look at that. Look how high it used to be. Yeah, if you compare that to, I've shown you guys the picture before, the market psychology. Let me pull that up for you guys. I always share this with you guys here. Market psychology chart. That's basically what this is. You got the euphoria, blow off top. Sometimes it happens right at IPO, comes right back down, comes all the way down to this part of anger and depression and disbelief. So, and you can even say technically it did it again down here. Right? Do you see how similar that graph looks to the movement? So familiarize yourself with this. Market psychology, it's just market cycles. If you simplify it, you have the peak and the trough, and you do have this situation, but you know, it happens with just about every single stock out there. At the end of the day, if the company does well, makes good money, investors come in, and it can go through this again after the disbelief and hope and head back up again. But you know, in this situation with GoPro, they didn't make the money to bring investors back in, but it's a very similar type of move. Big Bear, down, down, down. Uh-oh. Let's see what they reported. Improvement to their balance sheet. Full year revenue for 2025 between 125 mil and 140 mil. Okay, revenue decreased 18%. Gross margin 25% compared to 27.8, so the gross margin is going down. Net loss was 228 mil, which is a lot more than the second quarter of last year. So year over year, that's a big change for the net loss. Backlog of 380. So yeah, they still have a lot of projects coming on. They just got to get to it. So market doesn't seem like they're reacting very well to that. It's down 16% right now for that. Down 16%. Oh, OKLO's starting to drop. Did that report come out early? No numbers there. I'll check on check what I see on Twitter. Yeah, technically financial results should be out. Oh, there we go. OKLO missed EPS by 64%. That's why. And then revenue came in line, but they're not making money. No, it's still negative. Look, revenue estimate 0. It always baffles me how these, I mean, a lot of valuations for these types of companies are due to the fact that there is expectation for money in the future, expectations for them to dominate an industry or something like that. But a lot of times you'll see these types of companies get pushed down pretty hard because of it. All right, Big Bear, ooh, that's why. EPS, oh, why didn't it load? We just saw EPS. Why didn't this one load? EPS negative 71 cents. They were supposed to report 6-cent loss. So that's why you're seeing it push down. It's down 15% almost. Big Bear. OKLO down 4% now. Let's check ASTS. ASTS is back and forth so far. ACHR was down a bit. Now recovered a little. Now at 3%. A reminder for you guys, we already did the earnings analysis. So if you go into our YouTube and check out yesterday's live stream, you can go get that. And you can hear what we had to say about all of these. Yep, Wolf, just pull this up. Wolf has been doing pretty well, did pretty well today, had a big run up. If you look a little further back too, after earnings, they actually reported a double beat on earnings. Yes, they still lose money, but you saw it sell off and then it came right back the next day. We are still in this position for the 1K challenge. Our 1K challenge is basically flat so far. It had a pretty decent drawdown over the course of last few weeks or so. That has more to do with our NU position. Wolf has been doing pretty well. I think Wolf, we're at about 30 to 40% return so far. In terms of NU does report later this week. They have a small estimate in terms of their earnings. So we got to see, my expectation, especially with this push down from here and this push down that we just had, I do expect NU to start to break down lower. The only issue with our position is that it's for September, so we're getting kind of close to that expiration. Yeah, Theta's been eating away at it. Well, Wolf, I will say, Wolf actually is a decent position that we got into, because when you got into it here, even early, yeah, we saw a drawdown, but the first pop and the second pop that we had, you very quickly should have saw 40% return on those positions. You could have gotten out and then bought back in, when it was back to even. You would have had multiple chances to get out on Wolf. So no, it's not necessary to hold on the way that I am. I will point out that, with the 1K challenge, my aim is right now I'm expecting us to break that 580 or so. We should be headed up a little bit further. But again, it is the timing issue with this type of name. A little bit of a review too. Snapchat, I know a couple of you guys are in it. Snapchat did go a little bit lower today. So that position, big money, and it was a Stacks AI call out. It is hurting right now a little bit, but not that bad because we do have for, I believe, June of 2026. So there's some time on that position. We'll have to see how it reacts. If it reacts and starts to bounce back up, if it comes back to these levels, I would actually expect that we might either want to average down, or it is, again, we should see a little push back up at this point. A lot of our indicators are going to start showing that it's very heavily oversold at this point. So a bounce should be imminent when it comes down to where Snapchat is right now. There's a big gap up here, very big gap from about $8 to $9 that it should begin to fill soon. I know some people are also in UNH. My drawing for the secondary test it's a little bit early, but like I've told you guys, it takes some time to determine where exactly it is. That was, ultimately just a possibility. Now our secondary test is definitely a lot lower here. We are starting to see a bit of a pushback on that name. So keep an eye out for UNH right there too. We do have some pretty big gaps above for that one to fill. Big Bear down 23%. Ugh, that's ugly. Let's take a peek back over at OKLO. OKLO's flat right now. ASTS, Space Mobile, flat. ACHR down about 3%, but still no report at this point. All right. Good to have you guys here again. Tell me, what is it that you're looking at? What, did I miss any earnings that you want me to take a peek over at? Let me know. While we're waiting for the report for the next ones, let me real quick see. Oh, what happened with Plug Power? Not much so far. Plug Power missed earnings by 23. Oh yeah, I already said 29%. I think there was one that said this was 33% miss. Beat revenue by 10%. It's down 5% so far after hours. We're just gonna bring this up as well. I did add a new channel into our Discord today. This is also shared with you Stacks members as well. Stacks AI backtests, just a place where we can drop everything for you guys so you don't have to go searching in my channel for it. I did put up yesterday our live session where we did the first portion of it. I went through and did the Stacks AI backtest for last month's numbers. So make sure you go and take a look at that. You can always just click on our channel. Make sure you subscribe. But in our videos, we have our backtesting that is done every single month, reviewing all the backtest numbers from from July. All right, back to Trading View. Ooh, Big Bear now down 25%. That's ugly. I will also point out, I gave you guys quite a bit of information for some of these earnings reports. In the Discord, you'll see here, I did my Big Bear earnings review. It's under my channel as well. If you're in the Discord, you can also check it out in earnings case studies. I make sure I forward them all over in here. Here's the thing that was the indicator. History of post-earnings sell-offs. 14% median drop, 86% of the time. Especially because they're still unprofitable. So that probably should, that should have been your hint that there's a good chance that we'll see a sell-off today. And also all this selling that's been happening with their insiders. Obviously this is hindsight when it comes down to it, looking back on it. But a lot of times the data's there. So, I'm doing my best to report it to you guys so that you guys can use it as as a way to get into these positions if you're willing to take that type of risk. Big Bear now down 27%, almost double its median. 4 more minutes for some of these other reports to come in. ACHR sold off, came back, and now it's kind of just chopping around. 2 to 3% down. It's not that bad, but still no real report on that. GoPro's technically up, but 2%, that's nothing. Plug Power still sitting at negative 5%. The one a lot of people are waiting on for tomorrow is Circle, CRCL. We saw a big pop, after its IPO. It's come back down at an area of support. So, we'll see. Will it bounce off and head up further, or is it going to end up breaking down below that area? So OKLO actually reported a miss on EPS, but it's fairly flat right now. So we'll have to see how the reaction truly is. I will, like I said earlier, there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of money waiting around on the sidelines right now, especially today's flow was kind of flat, a little bit mundane when it comes down to the type of flow we've seen. And I will say a big part of it probably has to do with the fact that we have CPI reports coming in tomorrow. So once CPI reports come in, things will kind of balance back out afterwards. You'll either see money flowing out because CPI comes in hot, or if it does come in cool, we could see more money flowing back in. But right now the big question has to do with, what are they going to end up doing with rate cuts? Are they actually going to cut next this September? Right now there's a pretty high chance that that's supposed to happen, but as we might think that rate cuts are going to lead to easier money and easier borrowing, at the end of the day the reason for why we're cutting the rates is actually a big part of the narrative, and that's actually possibly more bearish at this point. There is a possibility that right now, because of unemployment rising, especially with our jobs report recently coming in and revising the numbers and removing about 250,000 jobs over the course of the last 3 months, that's a very good possibility that we're going to see rate cuts coming in September. However, if that is the case, it also does mean that it's the wrong reason for why we need to be cutting. It means that the economy is struggling, and as a result, you could possibly see some sell-offs in some of the bigger names. ACHR is basically flat. AST Space Mobile is now up 3%. But yeah, looks like we'll give it another minute, see if there's any big reactions at 130. But it doesn't. It seems like most of the stuff's already come out. I'm gonna double check on Twitter again real quick just to see if there's anything I missed. So let's see, OKLO revenue flat or zero in terms of actual revenue. Reported a miss of loss of 18 cents. So OKLO, surprising how it's actually holding up right now. Space Mobile, I do believe, also reported a bigger loss. Yeah, 41 cents a share versus the 19. That's almost 100% loss. Revenue 1.16. Ooh, they missed pretty hard then. ACHR, here we go. They beat by 0.001 cents, a fraction of a cent, and their revenue is down 200K. That's terrible. think the big one that we'll see again, the big one that we're probably going to hear reports about is Big Bear, BBAI. You did get the signals from us in our Discord. Take a look too, as it comes down to these support areas, it chops around right at the levels I've drawn, came down, bounced right off of where I showed support down here at 523. So basically the areas of support and resistance that I drew, it's basically used those even after hours at this point. All right. Before we log off, I do want to do a quick little review. We still are in some PCG, which is Pacific Gas and Electric. We've already seen the run up already. It is doing pretty well, showing some support at that 1486 level. I do expect it to break above that 1530 range in due time. PCG also, if you take a look over at stacks in the recent, especially today, calls being purchased for October 16 and 17. Those are some pretty cheap positions to be getting into. So if you're looking for a play, that might be worth taking a look at. IV is not too bad, around 40%. And again, if you take a look at this, what I like to do when you filter for just the buys, yeah, we've got a few of these puts that came in here, aiming for, further out. But 50K, 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 200K total and not. But we've got 300K over here, 367, 700K, 500K. They're spending a lot of money on the call side for this. The other one was ETHA. If you are following crypto, Ethereum did have a pretty solid pop this weekend, making new all-time highs, hitting 4,300. If I filter for the buys on this right now, you'll see there's only one put being taken out here for $59,000. We got some unusual calls coming in for 37, and again, we got in because we saw the flow last week on Friday came in extremely bullish with some unusual and some big money calls being taken. These ones that we got in around $2, and I think I got in around $2.22. Those ones were up over 25% just today, and I'm still holding on to that because of the flow. The flow still shows that there is more upside coming for Ethereum. That run is just starting. Keep in mind too, they're buying for end of next week. 822, 822, 35. Very good possibility we could see it push past 33 pretty soon, and head it up further. What else? Same with Wolf. Wolf, I know I showed you guys that. We are in this for our 1K challenge. Our 1K challenge just peaked up back over $1,000 today. It had dropped to about 770 last week, but we're still in on these. But look at Wolf. Wolf, we have a lot of calls overall in recent months, but just today we did see some more for September 19th, the $6 strike. So we could very likely see this peak over $6 in due time. The thing that I don't love is just the fact that it's only about $51,000 there, and the last one on Friday was 108. So Wolf, especially after the earnings that they reported, where they pulled back and then came back up, I just think that the outlook for this company, it's looking up, and especially with this one too. Last Friday they purchased for this Friday, and seeing it pop up above 5, this should be already in the money with where we're at right now. I have been considering cutting the NU position just because there is a little bit of calls coming, but the position's down a decent amount, and us breaking down below that $12 range shows me that we still do have a possibility of it headed further down. We did get into a lot of these puts earlier in, it was all the way back here, I believe, when we started the challenge. So we'll see. These were pretty cheap. I think we grabbed 10 of these at about 28 or 29 cents. It is down at this point about 60%. So we'll make a decision in the next few days, right around when earnings is reported on Thursday, whether or not we want to get out of this. Because the flow is starting to seem a little bit more mixed. All right. Is there anything else you guys want us to take a look at here? If not, we will be back at this. I'll try to do our earnings, watch our earnings at the end of market close, throughout the rest of the week. Our big ones that we're looking at are going to be, pull this up. Big ones that we care more about are going to be, we'll see Circle tomorrow and CoreWeave after hours tomorrow. I think CSCO on Wednesday. We'll do our regular closing bell show on Wednesday. So you'll see, we'll check out what CSCO does after hours. And then Thursday, Applied Materials and that NU. We also do have JD and Weibo on Thursday morning, especially with the whole tariffs being paused for China again. That might be a little bit of a bullish catalyst for those, but like I've already said this over and over, China sooner or later will get some money pumped into it, stimuluses, etc. So we will see what ends up happening with Chinese names probably in the next few months. It's hard to know what exactly the timing is going to be, but we will, we'll have to see how those reports for JD and Weibo turn out to be. All right. Reminder, yesterday's live stream and the videos. If you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure you go ahead and do so. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell whenever I do go live. It has been, anytime between 12 and 1, I try to jump on in here. Give you guys a little bit of rundown, but we already did the earnings analysis earlier. So we did that yesterday. Make sure you go check out that video. Leave some comments, leave some likes, help us out over here. We're just trying to play the YouTube algorithm as best as we can. But let us know, what is it that you're looking at? Is there any sort of reports that you want to bring up? Any sort of charts you want us to take a look at? We're here to help you guys out. But again, we will see you guys, if not tomorrow, then Wednesday. And we'll check out what the earnings looks like for the rest of the week. And especially on the weekends, keep an eye out for when we output our earnings analysis. It's all over our Discord, and make sure that you guys, converse. Let us know what it is that you guys think, and if there's any positions you're looking to get into. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and happy trading.